It's an At the Office edition of the East Bank Sports Show, serving up the hottest sports takes from right here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Eric.
Cleveland, welcome into The Office, the podcast where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Noah. I'm here with my co-hosts, John, Eric, and you can join us at The Office too. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching, or at 216-250-1411. John, Eric, how we doing tonight, boys?
Good, brother. Just got back from a road trip to Boston. I spent way too much time in Celtics and Red Sox land. It's good to be home, and it's good to be back with you guys.
I feel you. Not on the Boston trip, never been, but I feel you. It's good to be back. Eric, what's up, man?
Hey, doing well. I don't know if it's Friday, but we're all kind of a little over the top and ready to jump at each other. So I think it's going to be a good show.
I think we're over the top and ready to jump at each other because we're also doing this at like a normal hour of the day instead of like 9 p.m. as we're all winding down post Survivor or whatever sports are on. Like we're doing this at 5:30.
It's the weekend, baby.
It's a big weekend, man. Playoff baseball is headed right at us. This is the last series of the season. The Buckeyes got their first quasi-real game of the year. I think they're still going to win by 3 touchdowns. But hell yeah, man. Fall is here. It's crispy and cloudy out. Let's go. You said it. It's Friday. I love it.
I am ready to get after it and do the thing. Gentlemen, 30-second takes. Should players be forced to retire when they hit a certain amount of concussions? We've talked about concussions on this show before. Kind of wanted to spin it this way just a little bit because of like the Tua injury, Denzel Ward before the season started, but I want to hear your thoughts. Eric, I'm going to have you run the timer real quick. John, you run us off.
All right.
Hold
on. Get started while he's pulling it up so I get 40 seconds.
We got to get there. All right, you ready?
I'll meet you.
Yeah.
And
this one was the toughest one of these I've probably ever had to do because on the one hand, I'm like, no, it's America. You do what you want. If you don't want to give up millions of dollars and retire because of concussions, you shouldn't be forced to do anything. On the other hand, part of the NFLPA and the league's responsibility, as we've seen as of late, is to help protect players even from themselves. Watching guys take a few too many headshots and it's shaving 7 years off way at the end of their life is bad enough. But watching Tua seize on the field was pretty bad. So I think yes.
Eric, I'm going to have you go now. I am all set and ready to run the clock. Are you ready, my man?
Let's do it.
Go.
I'm going to take like 10 of these seconds to say I'm shocked by John's take, who said that he would not have his kids not play football because of the risk, but now we're going to pull out adults from doing what they want to do. And where does it stop? It's a slippery slope. What are we going to tell boxers they can't box? I mean, these are grown-ass adults that can make decisions on their own. They know what, especially at this point, what they're signing up for. I say let them be. Let them play until they die. I don't know.
Interesting. Let them play till they die is a quote from the show.
Why are you not entertained? Like it's not the Coliseum. Interesting. We can come back to it in a second. Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think ultimately it should be in the players' hands. That being said, if the NFLPA votes that this should be a rule to protect the players from themselves, then I'm all here for it. If not, I don't want any of the billionaires telling the millionaires how they should or shouldn't play on their team. Period.
I think that's fair. If I could take 3 of those seconds just because my name was invoked, I feel like in political season it's a debate. I get a rebuttal because Eric called my name. You're not wrong. I just think from a league perspective. I wasn't thinking of this as John in Cleveland. I was thinking of this as if I'm Roger Goodell, what do I do? And these guys are already suing the league for CTE and all kind of stuff later. The very least, you got to put some guidelines in place. I don't know. It's a case-by-case basis. I don't think everybody should get 3 concussions and you're out. But, watching Tua get bashed in the head twice a year and, get the body twitches is also kind of screwed up.
Yeah, but now you're putting different limits on it, and you're telling certain guys then that they can't earn money in a living while other guys can. I think it's a slope that you can't really go down. And if it's a worry about the league being sued, then bake that into future contracts, make it clear that they can't sue over CTE from 2025 onwards. You know about CTE, you know the risks. If you're choosing to play in this league, then you're foregoing your rights to sue later.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it's a big deal. I just couldn't. I went back and forth on this 6 times and literally said yes at the end because the timer was up. I'm like 51-49 on this, and it goes back and forth every time I think about it.
That's funny.
I thought about the whole you can't sue thing, but like, as soon as you have players sign stuff that says you won't sue because you got hit in the head, that 20 years from now you're going to sue because they got hit in the head. It's just how it works. And the fact that you sign a contract is a formality. It's not like it prevents anything, but.
I mean, true, but I mean, we've talked about this over the Watson stuff. Contract law, depending on how it's written, I mean, it's pretty ironclad. If you sign, I mean, there's certain things I guess you can't sign away. It'd be interesting, and that'd be an interesting use case. I'd like to hear Noah's thoughts, but I think he's having some technical difficulties. Either that or he's giving a handy to somebody under his desk right now. I'm not sure which. Did I say it's Friday and we're a little... we're a little spicy.
Yeah, it's also weird. We might as well keep cooking on this one for a sec while he figures out whatever's going on up there. But I think it also is wildly different by position. Like, if a safety keeps getting hit, it's like, okay, it doesn't happen as often because these guys are way smaller. It's not as violent. It's not every play. If you're a defensive tackle hitting running backs head on, it's also different. Like, I don't know, maybe they make them wear those silly looking but highly safe caps that are starting to catch on with the foam. So I don't know. There's a million different things short of.
They are in fact league legal. How does the mic sound? Does it sound any better?
Welcome back. Yeah, it sounds way better, buddy.
Welcome home. Literally, it sounded like you were on the International Space Station for about 15 minutes.
Interesting, because I was plugged into the same thing that I'm plugged into now. I have literally changed absolutely nothing.
But John, to your point, I mean, where do we stop? Do we say, okay, guys like DeMar Hamlin shouldn't be able to play because you've got a heart condition and you literally already died once? I just don't know. I mean, these are grown people, and it's the same way. Like, I understand seatbelt laws. I wear my seatbelt. Let me preface by saying that. But I'm never in favor of laws or restrictions when it's over myself. Like, if I'm only a danger to myself, then why should I have to wear a seatbelt? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, that's true. But they also sue the shit out of the tobacco industry for people still smoking cigarettes.
Gentlemen,
they told 70 years ago. So it's coming back to bite you if you just let it go.
Gentlemen, this was fantastic. I wanted to make this a full topic. I was shot down at making this a full topic, and then we kind of had to while I fixed my mic. We are back now. We're ready to go, and we are moving on to the actual.
Hold on, Noah. We got to at least hear your take real quick.
He gave his. He gave like 20 seconds and then started.
I gave a 20-second take, and then I started fixing my mic.
Oh, sorry.
I said if the NFLPA is.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
If they vote on it, then sure. If not, then no.
That's right. Sorry. Apologies.
How about you cut me off in between my transition?
Welcome to At the Office. Noah, your microphone. Welcome. Eric, Noah's been talking before. You just didn't listen. Let's get the show started.
Well, when he sounded like it was a tin can, I guess I just,
We thought we'd be ready to go on Friday. Apparently, it's a shit show.
It happens to the best of us. Ohio against the world. We all have said it. We have all felt this way. John posed the question when we were coming up with some new topics, kind of spinned off of the idea of Eric saying, why do we care about a professional sports team that does nothing for us? The question is, it wasn't in jest. You kind of made it your take for that segment, but we'll let you live for another day for now. Why do we care so much about professional sports and our favorite sports teams? I posed the question to you guys. I want to hear what you have to say first. John, I let you start 30-second takes because I was trying to fix my mic. Eric, go ahead, man.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to start by saying that the topic actually was Ohio against the world, exploring the unique bond Ohio sports fans and their teams. How do Cleveland sports culture differ from other cities, and why do we care so much? And I just think it's important because I kind of, tailored my point around that and not, just broadly, why do we care so much? I think on the whole, we're not that different from a lot of other sports cities. First of all, there are a lot of great sports cities out there. sadly, Oakland fans no longer have teams as of now, but they were a great fan base for a very long time. Pittsburgh, as much as I hate it, has a really great fan base. Buffalo has an incredible fan base. So I don't think we're unique in that. I think there are some things that make us unique, but I think the similarities of why the teams I just mentioned, which I'll get into in a second, why that those are such great sports cities. They're blue collar towns. They're often less industry than there used to be or once was. And I think there's a perception from the residents that they're kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say down and out, but they're gritty. They get through things, right? We got to suffer through winter every year. And there's something to that. And as a people, as Clevelanders, we come together. So that said, there's the things that athletes here have to deal with. The lack of sponsorships, for example, the media. It's not a big town for things like that, or if you're trying to make a big name for yourself. So, being a fan in New York is vastly different than being a fan in Cleveland. But there's this persistent and unrelenting hope. One of my favorite things about Cleveland is that it was actually nicknamed Station Hope when it was a stop on the Underground Railroad to get escaped slaves north to Canada. So that hope has just always been really a big part of our culture, the Ohio against the world kind of vibe. And I think that's what, we huddle together and, we put our backs together and backs to back to take on anybody. And when you're not one of us, we'll take you on, no problem. It doesn't matter how big it is, if it's David and Goliath. And that is a little unique, I think, just coming from the background and the people that live here. I don't think it's super unique in the sports world in general, but it's what makes being a Cleveland fan fun. I don't know how we would be if we won every Super Bowl or every World Series or every other, if we were a dynasty. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see it. But part of what makes the fandom fun is that we've been through the hard times, so that when that one Cavs championship came, or when that eventually one Browns Super Bowl win comes, it's going to mean so much more.
Yeah, I did have a dog that caught the car feeling with, like, when the Browns and Guardians and Cavs all made the playoffs in one calendar year for like the second time ever. I'm like, oh shit, this is what it feels like.
Yeah, right.
I just want to let it be known that if I even said Browns and Super Bowl in the same sentence, both of you would have came at my neck. Just saying.
The future is long. I didn't say in the next 5 years. I said in the future.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's going to take a lot for the Browns to catch the Steelers at this point, but that's another topic for another day.
We'll cover that on the after show.
Right.
I don't know. You want me to go next? You go on next.
I'm going next. I've been trying to start for the last two or three sentences here. That being said, I kind of took this and the broader approach, right? Why do we care so much? Why do sports fans care so much? I know the Cleveland thing was the broader definition of the topic, and I kind of left that to you guys. I wanted to spin it a little bit, keep it broad, since this is the broader show technically here on the East Bank Sports Channel, part of the Fanatical Elves Network and Fans for Sports. Regardless, I think the biggest part of this is the tradition and the hand down of, being a sports fan, right? Think about who got you into these teams. Were you a Browns fan because you were a Browns fan? Or were you a Browns fan because your dad was a Browns fan and your mom was a Browns fan and so on and so forth, and you grew up watching and surrounding your Sundays around that? I think that's the biggest part of what we have going on here, right? That is what really, gets me excited, is getting together with friends, family, watching the games. I think that's the biggest part of this, right? I think that's why we care, because it's like the one thing, especially in today's day and age, that I think unifies people of every type of background, every type of political affiliation. Look at me talking about politics when I said no politics on the show, Eric. I think it's just one of the very few ways you see people come together in today's day and age. And I think that's why we care so much, is because of the fandom, the group around it, falling in love with the players embracing the city. Myles Garrett buying, being a part owner of the Cavs now. It's that kind of thing. It's the togetherness that I think is the most important part, and the reason why we end up ultimately caring so much.
Yeah, it's a good point. I urge you and encourage you and ask you to keep that in mind the next time I tell you I don't hate the Bengals, because for 10 years of my life, my mother was like, yeah, but what about Boomer Esiason and Icky Woods and Carl Pickens? And that's as big a part of the first 10 years of my life as anything. And then I started leaning Cleveland. So just give me a little slack there, because you make a good point.
At least you have Joey B. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't like Joe Burrow. That's my own thing, though.
Well, whether
That's
you
a hot
like him,
take
I mean,
really
shit,
early.
yeah,
We'll talk about it on the after show, because we have an after show today, gentlemen. Continue, John.
Yeah, you guys hit on all this stuff. Most of the stuff I was going to say. There's a us against the world mentality, because Cleveland used to be a huge city. It isn't anymore. People leave here, which is why Browns backers is like the biggest worldwide sports association or fan group. And you go to places like Phoenix and San Diego and Miami, and there's 10 trillion Browns fans, because things got shitty here and everybody had to leave, but home is home. Midwestern people have Midwestern values. Family and being proud of where you're from are big parts of it. I think you guys covered that really well. The other piece of it that kind of brings it all together is like, it's also written in our DNA. Not to turn this into like a space talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson or anything, but the reason they think humans evolved and other species of human-like things that were bigger and stronger and faster than us didn't is because humans started coming together around fires, eating food, and being part of a clan or a group, so you could kick everybody's ass when they tried to pick you off one at a time. It's written in our DNA to stay as part of clans. So if you feel like an affiliation for the Midwest or for Ohio or for Cleveland, it's because the more people you have to say I'm a group with and I belong, the better we have been historically to survive. So how does that come out now that we don't have to like fight saber-toothed tigers for dinner and stuff? It comes out through stuff like the Browns. We're never going to be New York, but we love it here. And the only thing that we have to show the people in New York that we're serious and that we count too is when the Browns go out and hit the Giants in the mouth, or when the Guardians take down the Yankees in the ALCS, or we beat Boston, or we beat LA in the World Series or something like that. Biggest piece of why I hate Golden State. Yeah, the Cavs played them so many times, but it felt like that. We're from California. Everything's great. We're from the Bay. We got Steph splashing threes, and we got LeBron, who's from here, and we work and earn everything that we get. So the only other piece of it is like we're kind of hardwired to be that way. And that's why you see the worst fan bases are places where everybody's a transplant. San Diego is a beautiful city. Their sports scene sucked, and they keep losing teams because nobody's from there. Everybody moved there. Same with Phoenix. Same with Charlotte. I mean, the Panthers with Cam Newton won like 15 out of 16 games one year. They kind
Miami.
Yeah, Miami's another one.
Yeah.
And
Los Angeles is horrible for fan support, minus the Lakers, basically.
Minus the Lakers. Literally what I was going to say.
Dodgers
do okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's the only other part of it. And I agree. +1 to everything you guys said. I'm just, it is an extension of us. It almost feels like you're, wild uncle at Thanksgiving. You're like, oh, he's a crackpot, but he's still my uncle. Like, when the Browns lose every game in a season, we still invite them into our homes every Sunday for 4 hours during the fall and winter. And it feels like an extension of who we are.
Well, John, since you brought up the kind of philosophical side of why do we care, the only thing that we didn't really touch on, and I think it was really well put, from both of you, is that sports is also a microcosm of life. You kind of hinted around that a little bit, but the struggles, the big versus small, the stories. I mean, I like just as much as the game itself some of those intros during the AFC Championship that are talking about, this guy fought cancer and blah blah blah, whatever. I think it's that. In the words of Billy Bean in Moneyball, how can you not be romantic about baseball? I think that's sports in general. It's just, it has that life. And like you guys said, you're coming together with your loved ones or your mates to watch it. And it's just that perfect effect that makes it. I mean, how can we not care, honestly?
100%. Even though you were the one who brought up why do we care so much, even though it was from a place of saltiness, because the Browns have been pissing us off.
Same reason you can say I hate so and so. I hate my sister. You still love your sister. It's still family, but in the moment, you hate them. It's the same reason.
I agree with you 100%. I gotta mess with you a little bit,
and
right?
and it still hurt when John's like, when the Browns go and beat the Giants. I'm thinking, well, we didn't. Like that sucks.
That's the first thing
a little,
I got.
Stab in the
I
heart.
knew you were going the small market versus big market, but the first thing in my head was, I was at that game, man. You really got to go for the low blow on me right now.
Could have said the Jets.
Right.
I'm sorry. We should have beat the Giants. You want to talk about that after the show too? Like, I hope somebody's taking a list.
Now, I would love to talk about all the reasons why we should have beat the Giants, including Kevin Stefanski, Deshaun Watson, and the offensive line. And I started with Kevin Stefanski for you, Eric. Whatever.
Yeah, I love how you continue to like flip-flop after your text defending him, though. But we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that later because we can get into that later. Gentlemen, I'm going to cut us to commercial real quick. When we come back, we have another slew of topics that we want to get into. You are listening to At the Office. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. And we are back with The Office. I hope everybody's doing good. Make sure you do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Helps us grow the channel a ton. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials. The @ names are on the screen if you're watching the video. Make sure you hit that download button if you are listening to the podcast version. Again, helps us grow the brand, the podcast, a bunch. So we talked broad sports. Now let's go into something different. Let's go back to Cleveland. What will it take for Cleveland teams to earn national respect in their respective leagues? Even when we're good, we don't get talked about enough. Prime example, the Yankees just clinched their division, and the MLB tweeted they won the World Series, all caps excitement. We clinched the division like a week ago, was it now? It was about a week, maybe a week and a half.
Yeah, a week tomorrow.
Yeah, it was like, oh, the Guardians have clinched the AL Central. Congrats, guys. It's just a completely different flip of tone and delivery. And actually, unless you guys have something pertinent you'd want to start with, I want to start with mine because I'm kind of cynical when it comes to this topic. I'm not going to lie.
What?
And I'm not normally the cynical one.
It's your world, Squirrel. We're just trying to get a nut.
That's normally John. So go ahead, Noah.
Yeah, it's normally John. Okay, buddy. I don't think we'll ever get it. I think that is how the national sports media is. We're a smaller market team, and they don't care about us as much as they care about the LAs and the New Yorks. Unless we have a guy like LeBron James, a name like LeBron James, and, you could say maybe Myles Garrett, maybe Deshaun Watson before all the claims at one point.
That's infamy, not respect.
Well, I said before the claims. He was, nicknamed MJ and Cleats for a very long time before all of this.
What?
Stuff.
I think he gave himself that nickname. I've never heard that in my life.
I believe you 100%. I'm not calling you out. That is horseshit.
Yeah, they used to call him MJ. It would be like Chris Collinsworth on the mic. Oh my God, there he goes. He looks like MJ. You never heard that?
Even at his best, he wasn't as good as Michael Vick. So I don't know where that came from. But anyway, I don't want to do Post show.
Gotta start writing some of this down.
I don't think we'll ever get that level of respect because we're not a big market team. That's my biggest gripe with big media, big sports media, right? I don't watch a lot of ESPN anymore because it's not fixated on the teams I truly care about. Now I'll watch Pat McAfee because he's entertaining. I'll watch him around the horn, that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to actually wanting to listen to sports and sports talk and about the teams I actually care about, not what is Aaron Rodgers doing this week, what's going on with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge and whatever, I just don't think we'll ever get to that level because we're a small market team. And I think that's just the nature of the national sports media beast right now.
I think it's super interesting. I agree with you 75%. I think it's different by sport. And I think the reason it's different is the duration of the season because you have to keep people's attention. You can't talk about Cincinnati and Kansas City for 162 games and get people in LA and New York to care. With a 17-game football season, it's easier. And I'll give you an example. One of the most prestigious and historic and famed franchises in the National Football League is the Green Bay Packers. And that you talk about a small market. I know they're pulling Milwaukee.
The entire town fits into Lambeau.
Correct. It's like going to a high school football game and then you show up and there's just a bigger stadium. Like you park in people's yards and stuff.
No, I agree. This is a fantastic counterpoint. 100%.
So I think with football, it's just about who's good and who's not. There's only 32 teams. There's only 17 games in 18 weeks. And if the Browns play well, they get the pub. Like if the Kansas City Chiefs get pub, Kansas City's smaller than Cleveland. They just got good players and they win a lot. But we don't.
But my example caveats a player like LeBron James, and I think Patrick Mahomes is in that echelon of player like LeBron James where they get the media circus. Tom Brady's another example.
I don't think Mahomes is in an echelon of LeBron.
How? Because LeBron is like, a billion people in China know LeBron. I think Mahomes is only there because they win Super Bowls.
Yep. And also it switches, man. Like, there's been teams that are good that have played well. They get the run, even if the quarterback isn't. Like Joe Burrow and the Bengals got a ton of run, and then when they went to the Super Bowl, and now they're not good and they're kind of off the radar because people are like, hey, what's going to happen with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase? But like, if you are in the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they're good, they get credit. Like every small market team, I think in the NFL. Now with baseball and basketball, the second half of my point's a little different. Go ahead, yeah.
No, just real quick. I agree. The more I think about this, that football is a little bit more volatile. I still stand by my point of Patrick Mahomes being in that echelon of athlete. Steph Curry's the same thing to me. Steph Curry
Mahomes is nowhere near LeBron. First of all, I know you weren't alive, youngling, but when LeBron was coming out of high school, his games in high school were on ESPN. There was no hype like LeBron. We haven't seen any player since LeBron that's had that same hype. And he was instantly a star to the entire world. And mind you, he didn't win shit. He went to one finals appearance in 2007 before he went to Miami. To say that Pat Mahomes is on the same star level is just asinine. That's insane.
Now, he's the biggest star and one of the biggest stars in the NFL. But this is what's weird about the NFL. They have the most popular league, but the least popular players. Baseball, Shohei Ohtani and LeBron James. Patrick Mahomes isn't even in the same conversation as a superstar globally. He's really good at football.
I get what you guys are saying, and I'm not saying that he is as big of a star as LeBron James. I'm saying they are in the realm of top stars in their sports, so therefore they're going to get covered.
There we're changing the argument. There's no
That's what I've said this whole time.
In their sport. That's the first I've heard those words.
Okay, regardless, you know what I mean, though. Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL right now, as so was Tom Brady before Tom Brady retired, and so was
100%. But
I would also argue
Tom Brady.
Go ahead, E.
Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. We're talking about a guy that didn't win anything until he went to Miami that was a global superstar. If Pat Mahomes isn't winning Super Bowls, he's not even in your mouth right now. The only reason he is because he's winning. Come on, John. You
started it.
It's Friday. It's Friday.
Yeah, I tried not to laugh. I would also argue, though, Tom Brady at the height of his fame when he was the most popular and playing his best football still is not in the same breath. When you use the term global, the NFL is a domestic game. Basketball is an international game. Nobody in China knows who Tom Brady is, and they all know who LeBron is. We don't need to go too far down that rabbit hole, but
yeah, we're
baseball players and basketball players are way more famous than football players.
MJ,
I agree with that.
Hold on, you got to add in soccer players because Ronaldo and
we just don't have a team here.
Hey, everyone, did you know that Eric is a Chelsea fan? We got to mention.
Did you know there are things outside of your borders? Wow. It's a big world, buddy.
You're more.
All right,
anyway.
Can we get to my point now?
No, I didn't even finish mine. But yeah, like the last point, just with baseball and basketball, you just got to be better. The length of the season matters. MLB is a star-driven league. If we get the Indians in the 90s got a shit ton of run because we had Vizquel and Baerga and Bell and Ramirez and Alomar and then the other Alomar and Lofton. Like, people talk a lot about them. It just
poor Travis Fryman never gets love over there on the corner, holding it down at third.
I preferred Richie Sexton, to be honest, but I love me some Travis Fryman too. But you're right. And Now, I will say with basketball, it's in the middle. If I think we get about the right amount of credit. I think if Donovan Mitchell had stayed healthy and continued at the clip, he was putting together an MVP caliber season, people would be talking about the Cavs almost as much. You're never going to be the Lakers or Celtics, but like people talk about the Cavs more than the Brooklyn Nets for sure. With Donovan Mitchell and the talent that we have, I think it's about even there. You got to be a little bit better, right? The
So then
Indiana
let me ask
Pacers
you
and the
this.
Cavs, but yeah.
So the question is, what will it take for Cleveland to earn national media respect, basically? Do you think we've earned enough national media respect to this point already?
I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have gotten the exact amount of national media and respect that they deserve, and I think the Browns have too. I think the Guardians are better, but they don't have star power. We got Ramirez, who everybody doesn't appreciate except us because he's top 3 in MVP voting every year. And then we got a bunch of guys who are just really scrappy who play hard. Quan's good sometimes, a lot of time. We got good players, and we're going to make a run. But like, I'll prove it to you. Even the World Series. Quick, who won the World Series last year?
Texas Rangers.
Name 3 players on their team.
Let's see.
Thank you. Where does Aaron Judge play?
Yankees.
Where does Shohei Ohtani play?
Dodgers.
Thank you. I rest my case on baseball. We need more star power.
Gave me a little more time. I think I could give you 3 players.
You could, but you didn't have to think about Aaron Judge, did you?
No, that's true. All right. I kind of agree with your take. I think, though, it's pretty simple when it comes to specifically media attention. It's you got to win. That's what's going to earn respect. If the Browns go on to win the next 2 out of 3 Super Bowls and then 3 more at some point too, which fingers crossed, right? That attention, that respect will be here. I think, though, it's a little wider than well, first of all, I think it needs to be beyond one person too, beyond just LeBron. I think there needs to be a very specific, they need to build legitimate contenders across all 3 sports and contend often. Are we going to get the same media attention as New York? No, it's never going to happen because the Jets are abysmal too, and they talk about them all the time on ESPN. That sort of thing, the Giants are another example. That sort of thing, Cleveland's just not going to get. Although I don't know, when we were 0-16, they talked about us plenty too. I don't know, but the answer for me is you got to win. But more specifically, and this is getting into kind of our last topic a little bit, I think that we need a culture change in Cleveland. We are too down and out on ourselves often. Our media, especially local sports media, can be brutal here. It 100%. Is never optimistic. It's constantly what's wrong with the team, finding the slights, the negatives. I don't listen to much sports media locally because I just can't do it. It's depressing. And so I think we need to start shifting that culture in Cleveland first in order for the national media and national attention and national people to shift that. I really loved the Republican National Convention was here in, I guess that would have been 2015 or 2016. That summer. And it cracked me up because, first of all, it was really cool to see, all the big stars, so to speak, of cable news and that sort of thing flood and set up stages. And Harry Buffalo was the stars on the side of the building. I don't know if people know this, but were because they painted it. CNN took over the building and painted it, and the stars just remain today. But my point is, there were so many articles, and I remember one in particular coming from the New York Times that talked about, like, holy shit, Cleveland has all these good restaurants. I feel like we're a bit of a hidden gem. And yeah, unless you have family here, or I don't know what else would cause you to come to Cleveland, you're probably not visiting. I mean, it's not Paris. You're probably not spending your vacation time coming to Cleveland, even though we have cool stuff. We have arguably the second best art museum in the country. We have these amazing things that a lot of the rest of the country don't realize, but we're still so down and out about ourselves. And until we fix that and we shift that, I just don't think anyone else will.
It's
I
interesting
really
you said that. I feel like we've turned a corner. I feel like I would have agreed with you 10 years ago, but GV Art and Design and CLE Clothing Company sell a trillion shirts every time they release a new one because like people are starting to get a sense of pride. And frankly, like Noah's generation and the younger kids, like Cleveland isn't what it used to be. Like the whole mistake on the lake, the river caught fire. That shit's going out the,
But
out the
I
window.
didn't
up
say
there.
we're not.
literally came out last week. I went to the store and bought it.
Yeah, buddy.
I didn't say we don't have pride. I think we have a lot of pride. We're self-deprecating though. I think that's more part of the kind of Midwest, like you said, that's just who we are as a people.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, the Ohio against the world, all that. I think we're very prideful. I love it here. Every time somebody shits on Ohio,
Ready to
that
fight
lives here, I say, why is it so bad? Like, I know a ton of people like I grew up with that went to high school that always wanted to move to like South Carolina. And I want to be like, have you been in the South?
You're South Carolina.
No, I'm with you. I think
Weather
it's
and
really
beaches.
funny, real quick, that me and Eric have kind of flipped. I feel like I'm normally the positive one, and that's normally my sentiment of we need to love Cleveland and we need to be more positive. And I'm just like, national media is always going to hate us. We're a small market. We suck. Goodbye.
There's going to be a little bias, certainly.
I don't think so. There is one thing Eric said that I disagree with. I don't think I agree that our local sports coverage is trends negative to very negative, depending on the team.
100%. I don't
think that has anything to do with
anything.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I just don't think that has anything to do with the national media and attention. Like, I don't think, the Guardians would get better publicity if their local media was not as negative about them. Like, I don't think those necessarily correlate. But I don't think you're wrong. I just don't think they're connected.
But the first thing that ESPN does if they're running a story that Baker Mayfield's unhappy, a locker room presence, is that story coming out from Mary Kay that who knows if there's any validity to it or not.
There was.
And they pick that up and run with it. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I think that local media shapes a lot of the national media narrative. At least I shouldn't say a lot of. I think somewhat. I think it has an influence.
100%. I see it both ways. I think it's almost like a catch-22 because I don't think it matters as much what the local media says. But at the same time, the one time that there's drama and the national sports media picks it up, that's all she wrote, right? Your example speaks to it perfectly, even though there was a lot of validity to Baker's final days here in Cleveland. And I want to ask real quick, because I know John is a Baker bro, as they like to call them on Twitter. Did you see his recent interview? I forget who was interviewing him, but he was talking really highly of Cleveland. And I really appreciated that because it showed the maturity, I think, that he needed to go through to get to the point where he is borderline the franchise guy in Tampa.
I saw it. I don't want to get started on it because I maintain and more vehemently than ever feel like if we'd have just kept him here, we'd be in so much better.
I'm wrong.
But anyway, we don't need to relitigate that one. But yeah, I did see it. No, I agree. He sounds like a grown-up now.
Anyway, anything else you guys want to touch on this? I want to move on to our last topic. We have an after show, so we can kind of put our rambling to the side and just talk free form there.
No, the last thing I would say on that one is just when LeBron came back to Cleveland, this place was lit up like Vegas for his entire time here. And the local media was negative about the regular season run. And does he fit with Kevin Love and stop fitting out and fit in and Kyrie Irving and who's hurt? And national media was like 24/7 LeBron. It didn't matter. That's what I had in my mind. And when LeBron was here, this was the center of the basketball universe outside of Golden State.
You make a really good point that we didn't touch on. And that is, I don't think any of us have spent significant time outside of Ohio. Like, we haven't lived in Portland, for example, and have a real feeling of how the Trailblazers media works and happens, which isn't much.
Yeah, what Trailblazers media?
Exactly. So I think, it's hard to understate LeBron's impact because it was insane. But we get some media. I mean, it's pretty big, but because we lived in it, I think we kind of say, oh, that was a blip or whatever. I don't know. I think we get more media attention than a lot of cities is my point.
The Cubs-Indians World Series was as insane as it gets for a World Series that doesn't involve LA or New York. We had Chicago fans, but tickets were $2,000 in Cleveland. It was lit. And the
The
Cavs
worst-
won the championship, like it was crazy.
The craziest thing I saw during World Series week was I used to drive to work back then downtown, and I was passing down 14th Street, across from the cemetery where a lot of people will park and walk through the cemetery to the ball game. And that one lot over there, it said daily rate $110, and then below it said monthly $75.
That's
That
fantastic.
was insane.
How many monthly passes do you think they sold that month?
Yeah, they should have crossed.
I would
it out.
imagine they didn't do it, but isn't that crazy?
That's so
Wild.
crazy.
We're coming up
Gentlemen,
with another topic for another podcast because reliving that World Series run would be a fun one. Just what are your memories? What Raji Davis's home run, even though we lost the game, is still top. I literally screamed so loud I woke up a neighbor, and I just moved into the neighborhood. But Noah's trying to move us on. That's probably best.
let's move us on. We have plenty of time to talk about whatever the hell we want here in about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on when we wrap this thing up.
With no end time. We could go all night, guys. So tune in.
We could go all night. We could be live. I might have to take a shower in between. Who knows what'll happen? It's Friday, baby.
It can be like the Truman Show. It never turns off.
Right.
The Truman.
Take a little nap, turn my camera. Anyway, we are really off topic.
You got to pay for
The
that.
final topic we want to discuss today, another Cleveland-based topic, near and dear to my heart because I am a huge fan, obviously. I think we all are at the end of the day. Has Myles Garrett cemented his legacy as the best defensive player in Cleveland Browns history? Why or why not? Do tell. John, lead us off, man.
I think so. I think so. I started going down a lane. My initial answer was not quite, but he could get there very soon. And I started going down the list of Cleveland Browns great defenders just in my life, and then a few off of lists. I'll give you a few because I always like to walk you through my thought process. Anthony Pleasant was really good. Bubba Baker. Lynn Ford I didn't see play, but he's in the Ring of Honor and looked up his stats. He was good. Michael Dean Perry, best McDonald's commercial ever. I think Jameer Miller could have been every bit as good as Ray Lewis. His career just got cut short because of injury. Hanford Dixon, the top dog. It's why we call ourselves the Browns, the Dog Pound. And with secondary, we got Joe Hayden, Anthony Henry, TJ Ward, Frank Minifield. Like, there's some good players, but like, then I was like, okay, well, none of them are as good as Myles Garrett. So I will say yes. The reason I think for my hesitation is because I don't think he's quite the best defender in the NFL, even though he won the award. There's little ticky-tack stuff like stop lining up offsides and jumping offsides once to twice a game. But when I think about the greats at his position, because that's where he's going from now, Brown's great to an all-time great, he doesn't impact the game the way TJ Watt or JJ Watt does. And he certainly doesn't the way Lawrence Taylor or Reggie White did. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but is he the best Browns defender of all time if he retired today? I'm going to go with yeah. He's an excellent, excellent player. I love that he's here. I love everything about his game. And I shouldn't say he's not the best Brown of all time because I wouldn't take him over Lawrence Taylor or Reggie White. That's pretty high standards.
So, admittedly, I sometimes like to use like OpenAI, ChatGPT, just see what it comes up with as like a starting point to formulate an opinion, right?
Interesting. I've never done that for this show.
I haven't either. I do it for work all the time.
I know, never for this show though.
No, but I wanted
my own express written.
So, no, I do it though to see what it says, to see if it has any arguments that are better than what's coming up in my mind.
It's okay,
right?
GPT. What do you got?
Well, Eric, you already know what I'm about to say. Who do you think they listed the number one defender as?
For the Browns?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Myles. Yeah.
No.
I get what you're. I my bad. Yeah. I love this answer. I wish Noah would have led with this.
Grant Delpit or something ridiculous?
No, think even more
better.
out of the box.
I have a personalized note from him.
Joe Thomas?
Joe Thomas, because he defends a quarterback, was the number
great.
one answer by ChatGPT.
That is wild. Okay, that's why anybody who thinks AI is coming for your job, you got a few years at least.
Yeah.
Right. No, I think he has all but secured it already. He could retire tomorrow and be the best Browns defender of all time. You look at, the statistics, his awards, the stuff that he's done. He leads the team in, I believe it's sacks or tackles. He has the sack record, right? Correct.
Mhm.
I was going to go
Number
through the
2.
players. John, you named every one of them that I was going to name except Clay Matthews because
Okay.
Clay Matthews, yeah.
I was waiting for that. He's the number 2 sack leader, by the way. That's who Myles surpassed.
Yeah,
You know, they didn't keep stats on sacks until like 81, 82, 83.
right.
Bubba Baker would have had, I don't know. We don't need to go down the Bubba Baker rabbit hole. This dude would have had like 20 sacks in his rookie year if they kept it as a. Anyhow,
John, did you mention Bill Willis at all?
No, he's in the Ring of Honor too, isn't he?
He's a Hall of Famer.
No.
He's not in the Ring of Honor. He's 4-time All AAFC, 3-time All Pro. He was another one that came up when I was doing some research. But Myles Garrett, to me, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 defensive first team All Pros, NFL Defensive Player of the Year 1 time, obviously last year, and the all-time sack leader for the Browns. I don't think you really have anything better to compete with it. I think there's some greats out there. Shout out Hanford Dixon, Clay Matthews, all the people we've mentioned. But to me, Myles Garrett is the best defensive player in Cleveland Browns history, and it's only going to get further from being close.
All right. You guys aren't going to like my take. Noah's not. John will. First of all, the answer is yes. Let's get that out of the way. It's easy. He leads in the statistical categories. He passes the eye test in terms of, players I've seen. I will say shout out, and I know you mentioned him briefly, John, but I loved Joe Hayden when he was here. He was just such a good dude. I'm not saying he was one of our best defenders of all time, but the guy played.
If you make a top 20, I bet Joe Hayden's in it.
He played well,
probably.
don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we had some good players. That's like Anthony Henry was before him with Butch Davis Browns. That dude led the league in interceptions one year, I think.
Right. But talk about a guy embracing the city.
Yeah, man.
The part that Noah's not going to like is that, first of all, I know we're talking about Myles is the greatest, so some of these things matter, but Noah really likes to reach for Defensive Player of the Year and awards and 2-time Coach of the Year. Those things don't matter to me. What matters is what he's doing on the football field. And I will say, and I really want to echo John's point because I think he's absolutely right. He does not take over a football game like TJ Watt. Nope. And we're going to dive into this more on the after show, I promise you. He just doesn't. It's facts. You can watch the 2 games. I'm not going to give you a homer take. I'm going to give you good perspective. They're different positions, first of all. That should be noted because it is much harder to come off the edge and make an impact than a really good linebacker, in my opinion. Myles is constantly chipped, double teamed. He doesn't get a chance to breathe much.
That's the difference, but okay.
But that is.
You just said why you're wrong right there, but continue.
I'm not wrong.
That's what makes Myles Garrett the better player right there.
How does that make him the better player?
Because you say he doesn't impact a game just because he doesn't have 20
I didn't say he doesn't impact a game. Don't put words in my mouth. I said he doesn't take over a game like TJ Watt does. Now go on.
There's a difference between his impact of the game is completely different than TJ Watt's because you have to double team him no matter what. A rookie DeJuan Jones beat TJ Watt on like 95% of his snaps last year at home in a game with Dorian Thompson-Robinson starting, I believe.
I've seen TJ Watt take over, force a fumble when they need it, get a pick. We don't see that from Myles. He's not. If you take Myles out, is our defense worse? Yes, absolutely. Nobody's arguing it's not.
It's completely different.
Let me finish. I let you talk. If you take TJ Watt out of the Steelers, they lose. We saw that last year. When he's not playing, they lose. We can still win without Myles.
I disagree. Not this year. Not most years.
Well, we can't win this year with him.
Freaking ball. That has nothing to do with Myles Garrett.
Right. No, but that's the difference is there's the effect that Myles Garrett has on an offensive game plan compared to the effect that TJ Watt has on an offensive game plan is completely different. And Myles Garrett disrupts the game in ways that are completely different from TJ Watt.
Just because TJ Watt makes all pro quarterback Daniel Jones. Oh, wait. That's not who we're talking about. That dude threw all over the field.
He's a DN. What does he have to do with the quarterback?
You just said he disrupts the game. He didn't disrupt shit against the Giants.
Okay, TJ Watt has lost a football game and made good made good quarterbacks look bad too. You could probably find it pretty quick. Baker Mayfield has had career. I mean, geez.
All right, just do me a favor. In our first 3 games this year, tell me what name 3 things Myles has done that stood out to you that has made an impact for us to win football games. Granted, we only won 1 of them, but
right. So that's a lot harder than it should be. But
he hasn't. That's my point.
You're
And
talking
to John's
sacks,
point,
you're
I
talking
am
QB
so sick
pressures.
of the
He has the
offside.
highest graded PFF grade out of any NFL defender, period, in the last 5 years. Anything that's more than just sacks and forced fumbles, he's better than TJ Watt at.
I watch the games too, though. I'm not talking advanced stats.
You watch the games in a casual way, though. You don't watch the games.
As an ex-offensive lineman, I see what you're saying. I'm listening to you guys. I'm 50-50 on this. You guys are both making great points. I just kind of want to keep it going.
You watch that
in a casual way. Noah, you did not play professional sports, and coach. I'm sorry, you're not watching in a more advanced way.
I think true. No, I would disagree with that, Eric. Yeah, I would say not necessarily when it.
He still hasn't named the 3 things though.
If we said, would we be better off with Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson, I think anybody who watches football and understands it can make that call. When we're talking about defensive line versus offensive line play, I think Noah's dealing from a little bit higher spot. He understands the intricacies that we wouldn't about what it's like actually in the trenches on a football field, even if it wasn't at the highest level.
So give me
I'm not saying he gets what it's like to be an all-pro in the NFL. I'm saying he gets what it's like more than the 2 of us, I think.
All 3 of them could be the disruption that him being on the field creates, period. You want to talk about the Giants game. I let you talk. Now it's your turn to let me talk.
I didn't say a word.
You were about to. Myles Garrett played in 58% of snaps because he's hurt right now.
Yeah.
In the Giants game. So if you want to point to the fact that it's all Myles Garrett's fault, which I know you didn't say to a T, so don't say I'm putting words in your mouth, but you get what I'm saying. You are. He didn't even play in more than he just played over half the snaps because he's hurt right now.
So what makes him better then? You're
entire scheme change that you have to do in terms of blocking an offense with a tight end being equipped so he can chip all the time, with running double teams directly his way, depending on what's going on, where the ball's running and stuff. Noah's taking his ball and going home. That's fine. It's completely different. You can pull up stats and tell me, oh, well, TJ Watt had a strip sack. Good for him. That's only one part of the big equation that goes into playing offensive, defensive, these more these positions with more depth than just being able to pass the eye test of Baker Mayfield look great in week 1 and Deshaun Watson look like dog shit.
But I was talking about impacting a football game for wins and losses. He hasn't done that. What's his right? He's been here, 7-8 years?
Yeah, I think we could. I don't want to sum up the argument because I'm liking it and enjoying it, but I think if we just slightly modified something, Eric, you keep saying he doesn't impact the game.
And I don't mean it that way.
It's false. I think what you should
But that's what you're saying.
He hasn't taken over a game, or he hasn't won us a game. And I think that's different than saying he doesn't have a big impact. Because Noah's right. If you have to double team one defensive lineman every time, it becomes one-on-one across the line unless you have max protection, which changes the dynamic of everything, especially with the running game. That is an impact on the game that is outsized and that most teams don't have. That said, do you look up and go, there's Myles in the backfield again on 3rd down, hitting the quarterback for the 11th time today, and you can't run to the left side of the field because we're so dominant at that spot? No. So you're saying he doesn't have the big glitzy plays, but he does have a huge impact on it. Well, that's the question. Because LT and Reggie White or Aaron Donald, modern times on somebody on the line, I know he was a tackle, you couldn't go. I mean, Aaron Donald had impact on games for the Rams.
You're talking here. Here's a great stat. And this isn't a flashy play because it isn't a sack or a strip sack or an interception or whatever. Myles Garrett played in just 59% of snaps, a season low. This is the Giants game, but led the Browns with 8 quarterback pressures, putting pressure on the quarterback. His 30.8% pressure percentage was the second highest single game rate in the league this year, period. He played in 59 snaps or 59% of snaps. You take it up 10 more percent, and he's having one of the most efficient games a DN can possibly have in the whole league of the whole year so far. And you're talking all 32 teams playing week 1, 2, 3, and 4 now.
I think the counterpoint to that, though, is with all of that, you still go give up 49 points to the Texans in the playoffs. You still go get punched in the mouth by the Cowboys and give up 35 points. So what's the disconnect? Because the Steelers haven't given up 47 points this season.
We've been above 500, by the way, since he's gotten here in 2014, twice, 2 times. That's it.
What?
We've been above 500 only 2 times since he's gotten here.
Well, you're talking about like the 0-16 year and the Baker
No,
rookie
I'm talking
year and
above
stuff.
500, Noah, 2 times.
You're talking right. He's been in the league for what, 5-6 years? Half of those
Since
years.
2014.
2014?
Miles Garrett's been in the league 10 years?
Wait.
No, he's been in the league since 2016. He was the Deshaun Watson draft.
16.
2017. He's been in the league 7 years. 4 of them, we were 0-16. It was Baker's first year. Freddie Kitchens was the coach.
I was thinking 14's when he started college.
Hugh Jackson was pretty bad, too.
Right.
But to John's point, what has he won? And I know it's a team sport, but how has he taken over a game?
That's it. He's not the cornerback that's letting up plays and getting ran all over like Martin Emerson was last weekend. He's not the linebacker that isn't filling the gap on the other side of the line to
We've
stop
always
his
been
run.
so bad at linebacker.
Martin Emerson had a rough week, dude.
Listen,
I'm not saying he's not an impact player. I never once said that. I think he's one of the greatest players in the NFL.
I think so. So I love giving Noah shit, but to come correct, that is what you said. I just don't think it's what you meant. You said he's not in it. You said he's not having an impact on.
No, I said he doesn't take over a game like TJ Watt does.
Yeah, then you followed it up with he doesn't have the same impact, and I was like, okay, he does have an impact.
Comparing specifically to TJ Watt.
But TJ Watt and Myles Garrett are 2 different types of players, and the fact that Myles Garrett's impact is completely different than TJ Watt.
Myles Garrett does have the same impact on a game as TJ Watt. He just doesn't have the same big notable plays. And he doesn't take over a game. But Myles Garrett has the same impact on a football game as TJ Watt for sure. I just don't think he has the plays that put us over the top, and he doesn't win games. We don't remember that 1 sack we got on third and long.
John, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have to pick one player to play for the Browns, stay healthy. Do you pick TJ Watt or do you pick Myles Garrett?
Oh God, that is so freaking hard.
Tough question. Sorry, because I don't know the answer.
Tell you what,
I have no idea.
I think it's a toss-up, and Myles is never healthy. And if you said give me both of them healthy for 17 games, I think I'd still take Myles Garrett. But
Myles Garrett healthy for 17 games.
Yeah,
that's another part of it too.
He's never been healthy.
He's never playing healthy.
Yeah, he is hurt.
Do you guys get the feeling like I don't want to say he took a step back or anything like that, but it seemed like ever since he got COVID, he wasn't the same.
That is
correct. I
correct.
would agree with you until he won Defensive Player of the Year last year.
No, I know.
And had
but
his best season, period.
He seems like he's more out of breath than he used to be. He's also getting older, but he seems like the game, playing it impacts him more than it used to. And maybe it's a combination of those things, but ever since COVID, it just feels different.
Me and my dad talk about it all the time, and they stopped asking because he's gotten so good and he's done so well still compared to everybody else in the league. But yes, when Myles Garrett got COVID, he was never the same the rest of that whole next year. And I still feel like he's playing at 95% to 90 to 95% of his old self. I don't know if he notices it. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe he is just getting like, could be a million things, but I think
it could be perception. When they show him with his hands on his hips, breathing heavy, which I get it. You're playing in the NFL. I think of that. What's that?
Getting triple teamed and still breaking and getting 8 QB pressures on 59 snaps. I'm just being petty right now.
That tracks.
It is bad though. You watch some snaps where it's like the tight end chips him. Then there's an offensive lineman. Then a guard slides over and he's getting double teams. He gets to the backfield, and then the running back's hitting him in the legs, and he's still coming into the screen as the quarterback's letting the ball go. And I'm like, this is unbelievable.
So if that's the case, and we'll continue this part into the aftermath, then we have terrible coaching that nobody else on the line is making an impact.
Yeah, and we got rid of good players. Like, I know.
No, they have all the same players as last year.
No, he's talking about the edge
Jadavian
rusher.
Clowney.
Yeah, Clowney.
Thank you. Yeah, we had some players
but
last
Clowney
2
was,
years. Go ahead.
all
man.
right, we're getting off topic, and we can talk about this on the after show.
So we all agree, yes, he is the best Cleveland's defensive player of
That
all
was
time.
the most heated 3-way agreement that we've ever.
Gentlemen, final thoughts and takes so we can jump over to the after show and have a ball over there and talk about whatever and whatever and whatever. I keep saying whatever we feel like.
Whatever
We feel like. Final thoughts and takes. Eric, take it away, man.
With the Rangers, speaking of, eliminated from the playoffs this year, it will now be 24 years without a World Series repeat, which is very cool. But also, we talk all the time about there being parity in the NFL. I'm not sure there's more parity in any sport than in baseball. 24 years without a repeat champion. That's incredible. I hope the streak continues until we win like 4 straight. But I just think that's pretty cool. I love seeing new teams in it each year.
John, go for it. I agree. Baseball's parity is my favorite thing about becoming such a big baseball fan in the last couple of years of my life. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. I want to go back and look at that list after the show because I'd be willing to bet if you go Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox, Yankees, it's not repeat, but there's going to be a lot of repeat people on the list, even if they're not back to back. But you're right. I like the point. I won't fight it until I have more facts.
To be fair, the last team that did repeat would have been the Yankees because I said 24 years. So that 2000, 99, etc.
Correct. I bet if you take the Red Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers out of the, I don't know. We'll talk about that more. Yeah, mine's baseball related too. Shout out to Guardians fans coming out and supporting the team. I know we get shit because it's cold at the start of the year and we don't really draw. There's like 8,000 people after opening day. And sometimes if the team's not in contention, it wanes. I was looking at some of the attendance in the MLB. It's up for Cleveland. They did a great year. I remember watching the ballpark on Friday, Saturday, Sunday night for series against decent teams. They have 26,000 to 36,000. They would have 100,000 fans over the course of a 3-game series in a weekend. It's not quite like the Jake was rocking in the 90s, but it feels really good to go see the ballpark with the new seats and the fans and the colors and just being excited about baseball. They might get swept in the first round. They might be in the World Series a month from now. I don't know how this postseason is going to go, but enjoy the ride. And if you are fortunate enough to have a ticket, go support the team and scream your head off. Got a great home field advantage. I'm looking forward to some fall baseball.
I agree, and I'm just going to keep the baseball thing going, honestly, because I'm with you. I think the Guardians have done a great job on the fan service side, and I think they are one of the best teams in general doing this, whether it be the giveaways with the jerseys, the $2 beer nights, the fireworks being worth it, the DJs and the concerts after the show, the kids' fun day. I know baseball is doing this around the league to get more people in seats and to get more of those high attendance games, but you know, as a guy that buys the ballpark pass yearly now, I have been ecstatic with my experience compared to even, you know, I work for the Cavs. And I think the Guardians experience as a fan is bar none one of the best with all the renovations they're doing to the stadium now, the 2 districts up top, the corner
Best
rails.
Food of any sports
team.
Oh,
100%. You pay money, you know, stadium prices are ridiculous. You feel like you're at least kind of getting your money's worth when you go to the Guardians. And maybe that's because they also have Barrio and everything else there.
But it's food you would choose, which is so nice. Like I would go eat if we could go there for lunch to an empty stadium with just all the stuff open, I'd go there.
They used 100%. To do it. Used to be able to go to the Terrace Club and have a buffet for $15. But yeah.
Terrace Club no more.
I would absolutely love for that to be a thing. Like when they open it up for like beer fest or whatever like that too, like that'd be cool if they just did it on Fridays for like all the business people like us that live downtown to show up and grab some Barrio and sit in the stands and eat and network. Anyway, gentlemen, we are an hour and 5 in. We have an after show to get to. It has been a pleasure. I will talk to you guys in 2 minutes on the other show. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, hit the download button if you're watching or listening, post this on the podcast. Thank you for tuning in, Cleveland. Have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Don't have too many libations, but a few, if you so choose.
Have as many as you want.
And until next time, have a great rest of your week.